What's up, y'all? Y'all are listening to Living Corporate's flagship podcast. If you didn't know, Living Corporate helps organizations build employee engagement and market trust through data analytics and data transformation, our e-learning platform, and brand marketing storytelling. We're so excited for you to be here today. The conversation you're about to hear is going to connect the dots between employee experience and go-to-market effectiveness. If you're not ready, get ready. Here we go. Aniesia Williams, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on with you?
Man, a lot of things. It's interesting. Like we've been like following each other online for like several years, and it's funny because we connected. You hit me about something like back in like 2020. Then I forgot, and I asked a mutual friend to connect us about something else, forgetting that we already had a connection. Just time be flying. Yeah. Like, talk to me about, I mean, am I wrong in saying that I feel like it was 2020 we looked up, it was like 2023 and a half, like it feels like time has just zoomed by.
Because COVID.
That's right. That panorama.
That panorama was something. And also, too, we were on Jack's Twitter, not Elon's Twitter.
Facts. Yeah, that was a wild. That's also true. It's wild. Like, side note, like that platform is a hellscape now. I was like, yo, like it's really crazy. Like I was looking at it. I think I just, so as a quick aside, like, so I'm on there. So one of my things I did not know that I appreciated it as much because I don't do it a lot, but when I want to do it, it's right there, is blocking people. So there used to be a time on Twitter where I see you say something dumb, right? Or you just say something like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I could block you from wherever. It was like you could block from the timeline, right? So you press the little three dots, block.
Yeah.
And guess what? I move on my day. You don't even know. We moving on. It's fine. I just now realized, I was talking to my wife about it. I got to go in your profile now, click your thing, then block. And it's interesting because as petty or as minute as that may seem, it's a lot of those little changes that have been eroded away over time that have really impacted like the quality of the platform. Not to mention like the complete absence of content moderation and censorship, which has just made it into just a disgusting place. But like, it's just wild.
And all of these random people that now you're seeing all of their things that you do not follow at all. And I'm like, this is my For You. This ain't for me. Like I didn't ask for any of those things. And also it shows people that you've blocked, they still show up in your For You. So this is not Obama's internet no more on this thing. Like, it is just not.
See, I don't even know if I connected the dots that if you block somebody, they still show up on the For You. But I do not like the For You page. Like, I don't understand why. It's just like this. It's almost like this, like, kind of corralling of people into like just content farms as opposed to the curative space, a curated space that you're looking for content that you actually like. Like my For You page is the people I follow. Like this content is for me because I chose to follow this content, right? As opposed to like, and then, there's all this right-wing nonsense that gets pushed to your For You page that you didn't really ask for or necessarily looking for. People be typing in breaking. Like I remember like when I could use Twitter for the news. And I get alerts now, I'll be like, oh, breaking. And I'm like, oh, shoot, it's news. And it's not.
Right. No.
Look.
No, it's not.
We just kicked off. We already veering off into nothing. I didn't even introduce you. So look, Aniesia Williams, entrepreneur, speaker, mentor, founder, successful venture capitalist, if I could use that language. I appreciate you being on the show. It's interesting, like we're in this season where I'm having a lot of conversations right now where like I'm really kind of poking and kicking the tires a bit on like VC as a space, as a viable space for Black and brown entrepreneurs. I'd love to hear more about your story. And like, first of all, just like you didn't wake up, first of all, you woke up like this, but you didn't wake up doing, you did not wake up like immediately as a successful VC person, influencer. Like you started somewhere in the corporate space. Like talk to me about like your career journey and what influenced you into getting into entrepreneurship. Like what was that initial drive for you?
Yeah. So, you are absolutely correct. I did not wake up one day and say, "Oh, I want to be a founder. Oh, I want to be in VC." Like those things did not happen. I did have a corporate life before, and really, my honest, true answer for how I got into entrepreneurship was that it was something that happened to me. It was nothing that I dreamed about that it would happen. And so I'm a government contractor. I'm a contracting officer. And I'm, just doing all the things. Like you couldn't tell me, that I would not, be running someone's shop. I started out thinking that, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. That's what I wanted to be when I was younger. Then once I got through school, I was like, oh, I want to work at the bank. I want to be a personal banker at Bank of America. So I did that. Check. Got that check mark. And as I was working, I got a phone call and they were like, hey, what do you think about, government contracting? And I was like, I don't think nothing about it. I don't know what this is. Like, y'all calling me? Like, I'm like, you got the right person, is this the right person? Because maybe you need to call somebody else. And they was like, no, we want to teach you the way that we want to teach you. And would you be open to that? I had a degree, I had all the papers and everything. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like y'all paying me this amount of money. I'm at the height of where I could go as far as the bank was at that time. And so I was like, okay, well, let me try something different. So me and my ex-husband, we were in the DC area. He's prior military. And so I was like, okay, this sounds like a good thing. Like, let's try this. And so that's what I did. So again, I never had any dreams whatsoever of being an entrepreneur. So I'll never forget it, clear as day. I had won some business at the Navy Yard. So I was about to ride the train back to Springfield because I was working at the HRC for the Army. And so I was on my way back and I got on the Metro. And then I woke up in the hospital. And I was like, what happened? Of course, they ran all the tests. They thought I had a stroke. Like, it was just crazy. And so what they told me was that I had a hemiplegic migraine that mimics stroke-like symptoms. Ooh. Because I was stressing myself out so bad, working 14-hour days. Like, I'm telling you, the microaggressions, all the things that we call out now, there wasn't any Karens back then. And then we didn't know what that was. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like it was not defined how they are now, and not understanding what was happening to me. I'm just thinking like, oh, I got to put in my dues. So I'm working 14, 15-hour days. I literally had to sign out to go to the bathroom. Like it was that peak. Okay. It was that peak. And so I'm drinking Coca-Cola, Diet Cokes, like nobody's business. So I was not a coffee person, but I was drinking Diet Cokes like every day, all day, like just trying to, get energy and just trying to be in this space. And I'm working my heart out. And so when this thing happened to me, the doctor was like, listen, so the way that you are going right now, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to die. Two, you're going to have a real stroke. And, people under 40 can have strokes. And so the way that you are working, it is not conducive. You cannot continue to do this. So you need to make some decisions like today, like not, oh, this is imaginary, this is not what you want to do. No. Like today, before I release you, we need to know what the plan is. And so I'm sitting there and I got the photo. I'm sitting there and I got all the cords on me, all over my chest, and everything. And, I'm scared out of my mind. And this is, now what Oprah calls an aha moment. And so she calls me, the lieutenant commander calls me on the phone. And she's like, oh, we heard what happened. We're so sorry. Just let us know what we can do. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, no problem. And then her next thing before she got off the phone was, so when are you coming back to work? And I was like, well, I'm still in the hospital. So I'll let you know once I get out of the hospital. And so my next phone call was to the folks for short-term disability and long-term. And immediately I was like, hey, because my doctor was like, all right, whatever it is that you want, but you cannot go back in this space. Like, I cannot release you back into this space. And so that was like an aha moment for me. And I was just like, okay, Lord, listen, you know how we do our prayers, like, Lord, if you can get me out of this, like, I promise that, right? And so for me, it was, if you can get me up out of this bed and into a healthy place, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I can't go back to this job. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how this thing is going to work out, Lord, but I need for you to provide. Because, sister girl, I'm divorced now. I got a little apartment. I got my little car. Like I'm going to need you to work this out, because I don't know how this is going to happen. So I get out, and maybe about 2 weeks, I start getting calls like, hey, girl, I heard you on the market. Hey, like, are you available? Hey, do you have bandwidth to do this? Hey, can you do this, that, and the third, right? So I'm like, okay, like, cool. The Lord is provided, right? And so that's how I became a freelancer doing work, not understanding that I'm now like a full-fledged entrepreneur. I'm freaking out. I'm like, listen, I ain't got no health insurance, because after this, time for the short term, like, what I'm going to do? Like, yeah. I had no clue, right? And so I'm just jumping into these things because people are like, hey, like, I heard you was doing X, Y, and Z. So I was doing like trade shows and stuff like that for the government, doing events, making them cool because they were boring as hell, making them cool. I'll never forget, again, on Jack's Twitter, I, was like, hey, y'all need to be on Twitter. They was like, oh no, this is going to be, some crazy stuff. Like, we don't need to be on these platforms, what have you. I'm just like, yes, you do. Like, the whole process of, how do you live tweet, and you're at this event and you want to show people, like, all of those things. And the government was so hesitant of, no, we don't need to be on there. No, it looks like a scam. Like, I mean, all the things they fought like tooth and nail to not be on Twitter. Okay. Like tooth and nail. So again, I like to always say, I'm one of those pioneers that like saw all of these things happening in real time. When Facebook, you had to be in school, you had to have a .edu to even get on Facebook. Yeah. They had, Tom over with MySpace, like, so I was in that tech era. And, I worked in the technology space as a contractor, being a contracting officer. So, I'm looking at coding. I'm looking at all the things. I'm doing, project management, like all the things that you can think of now that they name it something. I was doing those things when they didn't know what it was, so I am cultivating, my folks on this Twitter platform and things, which is why that has always been my platform. And that's where I have the most community and reach and things of that nature, because I cultivated that out the gate. So again, I'm doing all these things. I'm doing major events. I'm doing the Urban League. I'm doing National Black MBA. Like I'm doing all of your major like Black professional conferences and things. And I'm just running them and doing them. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, I start building. So I got now about 5-6 clients. I have about 10 employees that are working for me, and I'm making the most money that I've ever made in my life. Again, I didn't know all the things, right? So I have counsel, but it's like, I'm listening to whatever counsel tells me to do, then I'm just up and jumping doing it, right? Sure. Like not even like, is this what you want to do? Like, does this even, so again, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm doing everything right. I did what my mentor said to do. I did, so, I'm checking out my box, because again, I didn't dream to do any of this stuff.
You're just moving.
I'm just moving, right? And so I was making, like I said, very, very good money. But I was so unhappy because I am doing everything for everybody else and for what everybody else wants me to do, and not doing the things that I wanted to do. Because mind you, I didn't wake up and say I wanted to run no business. Like, I got to now figure out FICA in them, and then quarterly taxes, and then, benefits for everybody. Because now if you have over 5, then you got to, offer them this, that, and the third, like all the things. And I'm like, yo, I don't want to be responsible for another family eating. Like, I don't want to be responsible for if this, it is heavy. And so that's, again, part of the things about entrepreneurship that folks don't tell you, and they make it be this glamorous thing. And, I don't have to report to nobody. Like, if I hear that, like, one more time, like, I'm going to be my own boss, I want to, like, just hit people in the throat, because your clients are who you report to.
Listen, people don't appreciate that at all. It's like, man, you go from having a one boss to now you have several bosses. You have every client is a boss, right? And then depending on the relationship and the scale and scope of that work and that person's influence, you might have those bosses might be like several exponents stronger and more influential than a 9-to-5 boss.
Correct. And so, again, not knowing any of these things, I wasn't prepared. Like, I wasn't prepared, and I'm just like doing on the fly. I'm just whatever my mentors told me to do. Like, that's what I'm doing on the fly. But like I said, I was the most miserable at that time, because it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I'm doing everything that everyone else wants to do, So again, I'm working, I'm in and out of corporate. I my last big corporate gig was at Edelman, and I'm managing director. I now have about 80 people in my downline that report into me. I'm managing millions of dollars of spend across video and social and all the things, and also still handling the experiential. Now we got a name for it. We were just calling it events. Now it's experiential activations, right? And so, I'm still, doing all of these things, and I'm managing all of the things. And again, my experience working at one of the largest, firms in the country, again, now I know what a Karen is. Now I know what the microaggressions look like. Now I know what those sudden things look like. I can only speak from my experience, but it's kind of like, well, what's your corporate woman's pack ready? You get your Neverfull, you get you a pair of bottoms, you get you your red lip, here are the things, and you get these things, and you're successful, you can walk in any meeting and you should be, good to go as a Black corporate woman, like, oh, you need your Amex, green card, you need, like, it was all of these crazy things that were projected on Black women to just be in our space and just to be excellent in those space. And it's all those other unwritten rules that they don't tell you about. The unwritten rules when you walk into the room and things of that nature. They didn't teach you those things. And so I got like a fucking crash course on, this is how you need to do these things. I've worked across different, smaller Black agencies, Black PR firm agencies as well. I have had my hands into some of the most influential campaigns that you've seen, Got Milk, all the things, Chobani, Corona, all of the things. And so after that, I said, you know what? I'm going to take a break. So after I left Edelman, I was like, I need a break. I don't know what it is that I want to do, but I feel like I'm getting to that point to where I was years ago, and like, I got to do something. And so, how as Black women, we had some mad money saved aside so that I could actually just sit and just understand what it is that I wanted to do and what that looked like and how I wanted to work. And yet again, got a call again and was like, oh, you on the market? Oh, what you doing? Like, The same exact thing, right? And so I said, well, this time, if I'm going to do this, it has to be the way that I want to do it, that feels good to me, that feels right for me. And that's how I have to move in it. And through that, like I said, I was always in tech, always through line in tech, but also, you know, worked across entertainment, worked across CPG as well, did a lot in healthcare during the pandemic, like all of those things. So there isn't a sector that I have not touched and not have my hands in between. So I met this woman named Kimberly Bryant. And I don't even remember how I even met her, but I met her and she needed some help. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, whatever you need, like, let's do it. Right. So, you know, I'm in awe, like, oh, you know, this is this Black woman. She has Black Girls Code. Like, this is just, you know, amazing. And this was at like, almost like at the beginning of when they started to like jump when I met her. And so, you know, we developed this friendship together, and we were able to do some dope things. Like, I did 2 movies, Hidden Figures. I did another movie that Oprah was in with Disney. We ended up seeding and helping to build a robotics Barbie through Mattel.
Wow.
And that was like their, you know, biggest selling Barbie that year. But to be able to have my hands inside of those things, I was like, you know, her success is my success. You know, I'm like, I am seeing things that I never saw when I was growing up for representation. And so it was good to be able to have my hands in doing those types of things inside of this organization like that. And that also exposed me to other tech organizations and things like that. I remember we started doing South by Southwest and making it bigger and bigger and bigger every year. And so it was nothing, you know, nothing that anyone could tell me as far as, you know, how do you build community in a authentic way, and also to make sure that you have your brands and your sponsors that are integrated inside of the things that you're trying to build as well, but also making sure that it's pointing back to the mission that you're trying to do. So, you know, again, I got to do some wonderful things. I think being in the process of creating this Barbie was like the biggest thing. Like, I can literally see it in my mind when I sat down and actually had a talk with her, talk with the lady over at Mattel at South by Southwest in the Hilton Hotel. And we were talking, and, you know, I'm very good, like, on the fly, like, you know, how can I create something here and expand those things, like, on this fly? And that's what we did. So, you know, that was one of my proudest things that I was able to do with Black Girls Code and Kimberly. But I just saw, like I said, a lot of things inside of different sectors, still, again, in the tech sector. So I understood, you know, the game now. I understand the players. Like, I understand, you know, all of these things and all of the first initial organizations that popped up and things around technology inside of the DC space and things of that nature. So again, you know, I am consulting. You know, I have my own thing, and I'm just getting opportunities. And so the events now that I'm doing, they are bigger and bigger. I think the biggest event I did was about like 10,000 people or so. And so my team is getting bigger, and I'm doing all the things, but I'm also doing a lot of strategy. I'm doing a lot of, you know, campaign work and comms. I was like low key, you know, I'm the low key Olivia Pope out here doing some things, and people really don't know who I am, but I'm the one that's doing the things in the back, and you don't know these things. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I got to the point to where I'm like, you know, people need to put respect on my name, you know, don't even understand that I am doing all the things. And so I'm seeing my work out here in the space. I'm seeing my work in publications. I'm seeing it on television. Yo, I remember when we did the damn BET Awards, and we had a whole commercial and everything for Black Girls Code. Like, yeah. So all of those things, right? And so I think I had met about 4 or 5 years. I don't know how I met them, but someone introduced me to them and asked me would I do Black Tech Week. And at the time, Felicia Hatchard, she was still running Black Tech Week in Miami. And so it was purchased by Lightship Capital. Mm-hmm. And so I did that whole transition, if you will, in media, like all the things. Like I did the whole entire thing through our company, and I produced Black Tech Week that first year of the takeover when we had Serena Williams. So that was again like a big thing for us to have done. And also it was like, yo, who is this girl? Like, who is she? So it just like the tech space and the VC space started to now, swim in together, if you will, because I was already known in the tech streets already before this other side of VC started to pop in and pop up. And what I started to notice is that while we were in the pandemic with all the George Floyd, that's when VC from Black folks' perspective and them really starting to understand what was happening and the gaps of funding for companies, that's when it really like took off and exploded. You had all these folks giving money to Black organizations and things of that nature to be, included, to be inclusive. Like the number of comments and the number of editorials and all of those things that I was writing, ghost writing for people, to be inside of this space was like crazy at that time. And I saw, like I normally see, I saw that this is just a time and the time is shrinking and the dollars are shrinking for where it's not going to be important to them anymore. And that I think, folks were riding high on the money because they had never had this much attention as far as Black folks in our time like this. And I'm not talking about Obama and things like that, but I'm talking about like real funding, like real
tangible support.
Tangible, right? It was something to see, but I also knew that this was temporary and that if we did not pivot quickly, then we would be talking about the very same things that we were talking about pre-COVID. And this is the space that we are now in right now. This is the space that we're in right now. And so, as I am doing all the things inside of VC spaces, still with the technology lean, I am seeing where the writing is happening on the wall. And I am just hoping and praying that our folks of color start to turn and flip stories and start to do new things, because even this time is like this. We don't have this much time in it, right? You can see the threads of, the lawsuit that's happening with the Fearless Fund or what have you from, a diversity perspective. All of the colleges, their DEI folks and departments, they're gone. So it's like, I see the tea leaves and I've seen this being unraveled as we go, and it's going to get worse. It is going to get worse. I'm having conversations with folks where they're like, Aniesia, well, we still want to be able to, be diverse. What can we say that's not DEI? How can we say the same thing, but don't put DEI in it, or don't put color in it, or don't put those things are happening in real time. They're happening in real time. And so what you have now is an influx as I look at some of the programming for pre-seed for founders. You have so much money is going into pre-seed. It is ridiculous the amount of money that is going into pre-seed, but it's also ridiculous the amount of money that actual founders are actually getting out of pre-seed. You have so many, oh, pitch your thing for $10,000. Oh, pitch your thing for $1,500, for $5,000. And it is, people are they are over mentored and under sponsored, even in this, over pre-accelerated and underfunded, even this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so I'm seeing this thing happen in real time because there's money being in pre-seed. You got grants, you got all the things, companies are, banks and stuff. Oh, they got all these programs. There's money to be had. But there's a gap in experienced founders and small businesses that are trying to get to a Series A, pre-Series A. There is a big gap there because what you need from a pre-seed perspective is not the same thing that you need once you actually got an MVP, you have revenue. Those are two different things. You got two different tax problems. You have different employee problems. Like, the problems are different. And so that's what I see as, I am a mentor and a judge. I've done Techstars in different cities. I do a lot of work with Build in Tulsa as well. And so I'm seeing it. I am seeing it happen. So let me roll back to AW Plus Co. So, I'm doing well. I'm doing all the things. Folks that know how they say, like, the girls that get it. Like, I'm now, in that space. And I'm also looking at, because I always transition before everyone else does. Like, I don't follow the crowd. I don't follow the trends. Like, I don't do any of those things. I just do Aniesia. Sure. And so as I am doing well, like I said, I'm doing major activations. I still have consulting clients. I have started to invest myself from an angel perspective. I'm helping other founders. I am helping them to raise money to, do the platform job, if you will, before I even knew, like, oh, this is like a real job. Like, I'm already doing those things. I'm pipelining for founders, for other VCs and family offices to have conversations. I'm having curated dinners. Like, I'm doing all these things, and I'm doing the work before it was called a thing. And so I was just like, you know what? Well, what's the next thing for me? Like, what do I want to do? I've done all of the things. This is now my third company. So I am not a spring chicken on this entrepreneur thing. And so I got introduced to some folks who started talking about acquiring my company. They wanted to, get one, of course, my Rolodex and my clients, but also two, they wanted to add the capabilities that we did to their company to, make them, more profitable, of course, but to also to extend their capabilities as well, because they also wanted to be in that space. And so, I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? What does this look like? And, okay, all right, like, let's do that, so now I'm getting acquired, and I came aboard the firm to be their chief client officer. Mind you, this is the second time that I've had this role. So again, I'm very clear about, what it is that I'm doing and how I do it. And now this is 20 plus years in the game. So, I am managing your top CEOs, C-suite folks at the highest level. And from a branding perspective, from a comms perspective, and also, from a text perspective and investor relations as well. And so I'm doing all those things at the same time, but also too, I'm like, listen, I'm not no spring chicken. I want to get married. I want to adopt. I want to do those things. And so even the things that I asked for inside of this Zello package, and even the things that, I wanted was different from the last time. And I was just like, you know what? This has got to be something that works for me. But also, how do I plan for this next future and this next phase in my life as well? And so I did that. We finished up everything in July. So that was last year. So I finished up everything this July. So I'm done. Sale is completed and done. And I am now Dream Block. But, you know, and even once I said yes to the acquisition and everything, I said, well, there's still more work to be done. There's still more things that I want to do. And, how can I do that? And so I started Dream Block, and Dream Block is really about how do we help folks to go to the next stages of wealth? And that's the dream. I'm always dreaming in color. I'm always like, hey, if I dream it, if I can see it, then I can do it. And the block is my community. The block is this community that I have built over these 20 plus years, be it contacts, be it family offices, VCs, tech folks, supply diversity folks, like all of the things. That's my block. And so that's how you got Dream Block. Inside of the space where we are now, one of the things I mentioned was that gap for founders that are experienced founders that are trying to, get their Series A. They also may say, hey, Aniesia, we've been very successful in our business. And this is the first time we're actually even thinking about getting, inside of VC or even raising money, right? We already got revenue. Like, we've been doing good. We already have clients, but we need this infusion capital to be able to scale and to grow. Or, hey, I've already taken some VC money, like I've already done a raise. We're trying to see someone who can help to close this raise, or be, to help us to raise, to be the first people in. So those are the types of people now that I am talking to, that I am helping. And I'm like, okay, this piece right here, this is what interests me. There are tons of pre-seed things. There are tons of monies out there to help them to figure out what it is that they want to do. I'm not your person for that anymore. I'm interested in how I can get other folks to get an exit like me. How can I get more folks to get, more capital to be able to expand and to go into different regions and things of that nature. And so that is my focus. And when I said, I want to focus on this and spend my time here, but also to give me time to establish a good working relationship, to establish, what does motherhood look like for me? What are those things that I need to do? And that's a really grown conversation. And that's a really grown thing to come to, because you see, entrepreneurship is a grind, and it is not as glamorous as everyone makes it out to be. But even being in venture, it's even more harder in venture, and so having the right tribe is essential. And not only just a tribe that we do business, but also the tribe of, hey sis, like, you can be a mom, like you can do these things. Oh, let me tell you about the au pair. Like, let me tell you about these things and how you can do X, Y, and Z. And those are different conversations that I needed, that I said, let me make the space for it, because I'm sure that there are other women out there that need that space too. And so Dream Block is not a Black thing or a diversity thing or what have you. It's my top infinity is always going to be for women to get the funding that they need. I'm a Black woman, so I'm always going to make sure in what I can do that Black women get the things that they need as well. But I can't lie and say that I don't have other women that aren't, African American, that have helped me throughout my career, or that who have said, you know what, I'm going to sponsor you. Like, I'm going to, help you to do X, Y, and Z. So I want to be inclusive to everyone, if you will, but be very tailored about the things that I do. So I'm not for everything. I don't do all of the things anymore. I don't do any of those things anymore. I'm very strategic about how I move. And in the spaces that I move in, that actually makes sense. I'll never forget the first time I went to Martha's Vineyard, and all I heard about this thing was like a myth. It's like, oh, all of these magic Black people come to this place, and you go. And this is now, I just completed my 4th year to the Vineyard, and it is this magical place that you go to where you don't have to explain who you are, and you don't have to explain your being in it. And it's also, for me, it's a good time to, to just connect with people and to, get some R&R, but I also do a lot of business there as well. I mean, Dream Block, we did about 7 activations over a 3-week period this year. And that was a lot of work, and a lot of repeat business and work as well that I've been able to do. But, I'm just on the other side of this acquisition, and I am excited. I am more clear about where my journey goes and the things that I can do to help people to build wealth and to get access to things that they need. I'm tired of having the same conversation about, equity and, access to capital. Like I tell you, I am exasperated about having this conversation. And so these aren't the conversations that we're having. These are not the conversations and things that we're continuing to have. Like, we are beyond these things. It's, do you have capital now? Are you deploying capital? When are you deploying capital? And can you send the wire now? Like, so those are the conversations that we are having. And so with Dream Block, I put together a Dream Wealth Camp, which I'm super excited about. And our next camp is going to be in October the 3rd through the 6th. And it is, again, for those experienced founders and small businesses as well, because service businesses, they need love too. And they can also get acquired too. I was a service business and I got acquired as well. So, but this camp is for them. And these are workshops. This is not where you come to do kumbaya and make friendship bracelets and you listen to somebody talk on a panel. And like, this is not it. This is workshops. You need to figure out what your go-to market strategy is. Okay, we got you. You need to figure out like where in your pitch deck is not translating. Okay, we got you. You need clients. You can get all the money in the world, but if you don't have people that are using your product, you need clients. This is what we are providing. And also too, how do you build your company? So you get this 1 million. How are you going to actually spend that 1 million?
100%.
What's your operations like? How are you hiring as well? And you want to be able to offer them benefits and things of that nature. Who are you talking to about your benefits? Where are you going so that you can get those things? Mm-hmm. So it's from an operational perspective. It's from a brand capital perspective. It's from an investment perspective as well. And those are the things that we are talking about. Even legal. The number of founders that I know that have problems with cap table issues, or the founder don't want to be the founder no more. So you have to do all the things from a legal perspective. I don't think people understand how much it costs when you get ready to do Series A for legal. Baby, that bill ain't no punk. But again, this ain't your Rocket lawyer. This ain't them free services that you pay online. Sure. That's going to get you to your Series A. And so those are the types of providers that come to the camp. Those are the type of things that we're talking about from a workshop. So I'm saying, get your laptop, get your iPad, and like, these are small curated spaces to where it ain't a whole bunch of people in here. Literally, you got about 2 to 3 people in a workshop session, because when you leave here today, when you leave from this camp, these are things that you can do right now, implement right now. Also have programming for family offices, VCs, LPs, GPs, angels as well, because they also need it too. They also need to figure out what's happening from that perspective. What does platform management look like? Well, if your management fee is only 3%, but the folks that you're investing in, they aren't making you money anymore, then how then are your portfolio companies being serviced? If you're out here trying to raise money for another fund, for fund to fund, then who's taking care of your founders that you have invested in? because they are also going to need other things as well. So we're having those conversations too. If you are you saying like, hey, I got a fund and I'm raising another 50 million or 20 million, like who exactly are you talking to? And there is also more than one well to also get money from. It seems like everybody's going to the same place trying to get money. There isn't like they can't fund everything, so it's also me bringing family offices that I have access to in the MENA GCC region, in the UAE region as well, that are also coming to this camp as well, because they are looking for the next Uber, they're looking for the next Airbnb, so they are also looking at those things themselves as well. And so we have programming that is just for them. Then we also have a deal room as well, because I also look at investments across different things. So it's not just tech, but also doing real estate as well. So and art. So we have, again, this ecosystem to where I can say, hey, these are the deals that I see that are coming inside of my network as well. These are the investors that are actually actively looking to fund in fund 2, 3, 4, and then these are also the angels that also want to come in for deals. And so I'm bringing them all together in a small curated space. And that is the Dream Wealth Camp that is in October. So I'm super excited about that. And then the last thing I'll say is our flagship is going to be our Dream Wealth Summit. That summit is going to be in December during Art Basel. And so all of my people are now coming. So this is a big family office summit that will be happening. So I'm super excited about it. But it's like, I think, I have access and I have different direction and counsel and things of that nature at this stage that I'm in. And I want to be able to make sure that my people, that my block, have the same information that I have. It's enough money for everybody to go around. Everybody can eat. Me being able to connect you to an investor or to a family office is not going to negate what they're doing for me. So I'm not holding no contact. I'm not doing any of those foolish things that I see that's happening inside of our space. But, this is, like I said, where I am. That is from which I came. This is what I am building for Dream Block, and I am super duper excited about it. And it's so crazy because I didn't even tell a lot of people that I even, sold AW Plus Code. Like I didn't even, because I'm just so busy doing the work. And I didn't want it to feel like, oh, this is a me and I did this, but also too, bitch, you did that. So, but yeah, so, I'm going to be, doing some things on LinkedIn and Twitter and just talking a little bit about that so that people know that, there is service. There is a place in a community for you that's not playing no games. Like that's just not playing any games at all. I'm not a founder trying to give people, counsel about something that I have not been through, that I have not gone through, that I have not seen myself. And inside of this community, as you were talking about earlier, it's a lot of foolishness that's happening. And it's a lot of foolishness and grift that is also happening inside of these VC spaces with Black folks trying to get an equal share and opportunity to these tables. And I'm just not about that life. And we know who the scammers are. We know who is out here capping. We know and we see them. And when I don't see them in the places that I'm in, like I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. So, I don't have a crew. I don't have no clique. Like I don't have any of those things. All I have is just my integrity. I have, my hard work. I have, the years of experience doing this. And I just pride myself on doing the things that I say that I'm going to do. And that's just it, like full stop. So like I said, I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. I am happy to be in this space in my life to where I can see clearly and to be able to move with intention with the things that I'm doing and still being able to give back and make sure that people have the things that they need. And also looking at, what does generational wealth look like for me and for my friends? Jay-Z said something something about, you know, if I'm eating and my friends ain't eating too, like, then what are we doing? And so that's what I'm about. That's me. That's where I've been, and that's what I'm building.
Well, hey, look, I had like 30 more questions, but you did so much with this hour block. I'm excited about. First of all, I'm gonna say this, and then we got to go. Is that you started off your journey talking about how you were basically not on your deathbed, but how you were on your way to a deathbed, and then how you then found yourself in the space that you wanted to be, but then not only didn't just stop there, but then also figured out and identified ways that you could help other people to grow and go. So hopefully we can have a part 2. But if we don't, I want to say thank you, period, for sharing so much of your journey, rich in experiences, how you're able to leverage all of these experiences, some of them clearly traumatic, right? Waking up in a hospital bed is scary. Definitely been there before. But then to go to them being self-sustaining and thriving is a beautiful story. And yes, absolutely, calling out the gaps that we have in some of these spaces to really help empower and drive generational wealth for Black and brown folks, those on the margins, is critical work. I want to make sure that everyone checks out the links in the show notes. Make sure you learn more about Aniesia Dream Block, the work that she's doing, learn more about her space. Aniesia, thank you so much for coming on Living Corporate.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Living Corporate is a podcast by Living Corporate LLC. Our logo was designed by David Dawkins. Our theme music was produced by Ken Brown. Additional music production by Antoine Franklin for Musical Elevation. Post-production is handled by Jeremy Jackson. Got a topic suggestion? Email us at livingcorporatepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us online on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and living-corporate.com. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.